right, let's go. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Give me 1 second here. Just waiting for everyone to show up. How's everybody doing today? Give me 1 second. Get everything going here. We're finally live, guys. We're finally live. Alrighty here. We just wait another minute or two here. We got about 2 more minutes before we hit 10 o'clock, and then we'll get going here. Hope everyone's having a great day today. There we go. Happy Friday, everyone. We're finally live. Just gonna wait another minute or two before I actually get officially going here, but hope everyone's having a great Friday. I know we had a little bump yesterday, but we got it situated. We're going here. We'll get it going. A lot of boxing to discuss here. We'll get going in another minute or two. Let me know on the comment section if you guys can hear me well. Let me know how it looks. Got another minute or two. If I need to adjust something, we can adjust it real quick. But if not, let's go. All right. I got another minute. One more minute. We'll get going here. While we wait, anybody check out the weigh-in this morning? A little early, but big fight tomorrow. Big fight. Just waiting a couple of seconds here. As soon as 10 o'clock hits, we'll get going here. All right. Well, hope everyone's doing well. Happy Friday, first and foremost. Thank you so much for following Behind the Ropes. We're finally officially going here. We're live. Hope everyone's doing well. First and foremost, let's talk about Teofimo and Campa. Teofimo's finally back after a long period out of the sport. What'd you guys think of the fight? Teofimo back in the sport. First fight at 140. Yeah, the competition wasn't huge or anything per se, but it was his first fight back and was first fight at 140. What'd you guys think? Uh, Interesting take on Teofimo. Depends. I guess how you see Teofimo, right? The Loma win was huge win for him. Undisputed, but losing to someone like Cambosos the way he did bring up a couple questions, right? Um, 140 was interesting. I think he probably should have made that jump a little while ago. He did wait a little bit, paid the price for it. Now he has to make the climb back. First fight at 140 was interesting. I think personally there was a little ring rust, but it's expected. First, it's your first fight at 140, and then you've been away for a while. So I mean, it's expected to see a little bit of ring rust, and then also a little overexcitement too. So I mean, it's hard to say if it was more ring rust or a little overexcitement to showcase that he's back, right? I mean, he was talking, all fight week, take over, and I'm back, and it was a big fight. It was a big loss the way he lost his belts. A lot of questions for everyone. He was away for a while. Um, Interesting fight. I personally feel Teofimo maybe needs another fight, maybe two, before we see him in there against someone like Josh Taylor. I know he says he wants a big fight. And I don't know how many of you follow Top Rank on YouTube, but make sure you guys follow them. They have a lot of great content for you guys. Um, they did release behind the scenes video yesterday. Was pretty interesting. I don't know. I personally do feel Top Rank is kind of setting up the Barbosa fight, which makes sense to me. Like I said earlier, I think he does need maybe one or two more fights before you can see him in there against someone like Taylor. Um, Barbosa does make sense. I know he wants a top five, top three contender in December. He does have that date in Madison Square Garden, but I think someone like Barbosa makes more sense if you're really trying to make some noise at 140, right? Because he wants the belt holders, if not the top two, fighting for the belts, which is Zepeda would be fighting for a belt, and then Ramirez at some point is in the mix as well, right? So he wants maybe he's one of those guys, if not Taylor. I don't see any other three fights happening in the next couple months, right? I think you're going to see more of a Ramirez and Zepeda first before you would see someone like Teofimo in there with them. So why not Barboza? It makes sense. You're both with Top Rank. It's an easy fight to make. You have your date. I personally feel I don't know how everybody else feels, but I feel like maybe one more fight would benefit Teofimo if he wants to be undisputed at 140 and he wants to crack a Taylor to be successful. You probably need one more fight. I don't think you can judge yourself fairly at 140 by defeating someone like Campa, right? No offense to someone like Campa. I'm not trying to disrespect or anything like that, but you can't go that high, right? You can't go from a Campa to expect to defeat Josh Taylor, right? I mean, it's a big jump. And then, yes, you were undisputed at 135. Yes, you're Teofimo Lopez, but it's not there yet, at least for me. I don't think Teofimo's quite ready. Uh, I do see maybe a Taylor fight maybe next summer. I think that makes more sense. If we can get Teofimo in the ring in December, if it goes great, no injuries, no setbacks, maybe he comes back again sometime around March, right? Early April, maybe. Hopefully March though. Then we could see him sometime in the summer, early summertime against Josh Taylor, right? Maybe 2, 3 fights in at 140. I think he's a little bit more familiar with the weight, uh, the differences that come with the jump, like from 135 to 140. Because you have to realize lightweight and welterweight, two different two different beasts, right? I mean, just because you dominate at 135 doesn't mean you're going to come up at 140 and be as successful, right? There's a big jump. Yes, it's only 5 pounds to weigh in, but speed, power, it's a big difference from 135 to 140. There's a lot of things you get away with at 135 that you might not get away with at 140, right? So to me, that would make more sense to see Teofimo maybe two more fights. I would like a tougher fight in December. Barbosa to me makes more sense. I like that fight. I know for some reason he doesn't want it, but realistically, it's the fight that makes the most sense for him and his future if he wants to really get a chance at Josh Taylor. Because me personally, I don't see Top Rank moving that quickly. Right? You just came back. You were out for a while. You took the loss the way you took it. It's time to get you back up, right? Let's bring you back up the right way, and I think that's something Top Rank is known for. They do quite well, not protecting their fighters, but making the right calls, right? Like for example, Teofimo, we don't like. Why would you want to see him in there with Taylor in December when realistically, I mean, Campa to Taylor? Do you guys do you guys think he's gonna have the same success he would maybe in sometime in April or June, where he would have a couple more fights, get more familiar? I mean, I personally feel we're not going to see him in there with the guys he wants. I think realistically, Top Rank will make the right call, whether Teofimo agrees with it or not. But the right call is someone like Barboza in December. Um, you can't rush. You can't rush into big fights like that. I understand. You had the momentum. You beat someone like Loma, so you're probably thinking if I can beat Loma, what's a Josh Taylor, right? But like I said, it's a different beast. You can't compare Aloma, which realistically he's what is he, a 130 realistically, but I mean his talent allows him to compete successfully at 135, right? So there is a size difference there as it is even at 135. So to compare the top fighter at 135 to the top fighters at 140, it's not fair. It's not the same. And personally, I do think he's going to need a little help. I think maybe one or two more fights, but if he does it the right way, it would be interesting to see Teofimo and Josh Taylor next summer. But if we get it sometime in December, early next year, I don't know. I mean, competitive wise, it'll be entertaining. It'll be a good fight, but I think Taylor might be a little too much for Teofimo right now. Like, I think, I think it'll be interesting next summer, but we'll see. Another fight that they were possibly talking about. They're still discussing it. I know there's a lot of rumors. They keep bringing it up. Ryan Garcia, Oscar was at the fight for the Teofimo fight. He was there ringside, and there was talks that he was going to meet up with Bob Arum to sit down to discuss whatever they were going to discuss, right? Which a lot of people feel might have been a possibility of a Teofimo and Ryan Garcia clash in December. I don't see it. I I honestly don't see it. Um, Perhaps I'm wrong, but those two fighters are in different situations in their careers right now, right? Like I know the hype is there. We all hear the Teofimo hype. We all hear Ryan Garcia, right? He needs a big fight and he's an Instagram fighter. Blah 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 blah. Right? But Ryan Garcia, I don't think you're gonna see him in there with the Teofimo or any of the top fighters you're hearing, like a Tank, right? I don't see those fights happening in December. And I'll tell you why. I might have thought differently before his last fight, but he didn't fight Jojo Diaz. I personally was expecting a Jojo Diaz Ryan Garcia fight. If we would have got that fight instead of his last fight, which was against a overinflated fighter, right? Like he's not a 140 pounder, let alone a lightweight, but they fight at 140. He fought the guy that Jojo Diaz defeated. I don't see how they're gonna go from giving him the guy that was defeated by the guy he should have fought, and then he's gonna jump and fight someone like Teofimo. I don't think so. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think realistically, you'll probably see a Jojo Diaz Ryan Garcia fight because I really think that's more of a fight we'll get before we get a Ryan Garcia Teofimo or a Ryan Garcia and a Tank, right? I honestly don't see it. I I feel I feel Ryan's little setback, the time he took away from the game, did bring back, you know, the momentum he had. He did have a lot of momentum. That Campbell fight, it was a tough fight. He proved himself. He got back up, won the fight. He was able to stop uh, a gold medalist, right? Like, I mean, it was impressive. Whether you know who Campbell is or not, that win was impressive for Ryan Garcia. And at that time, the momentum was correct, right? Like it was getting there, like defeating someone like Campbell, and then from there going straight into a Jojo Diaz or one of those tier type of fighters. Something like that would have really brought the momentum up, right? And then to this point, let's say he wouldn't have took that time off by December. I do see a Tank or a Teofimo fight at that point, right? Because the consistency is there. He's fighting. He's fighting the right way, right? The right way as far as opposition. He's going up the levels, right? What you're used to seeing, because you're not going to go from a C class fighter to fighting someone at your level, if not perhaps at a higher level, right? You just can't do that in boxing. You have to prepare to get to that level. It's tough to go in the ring with someone that you're faster, you're stronger than, you're bigger. Like the cards are on your side, right? You can't go from a fight like that to then go to to fight someone like Teofimo, where the guy's bigger than you, might be faster than you, he might be better than you. You you have to prepare for something like that. It's a tough battle. It's in boxing, it's literally seconds, if not a split second of a move that you make right or wrong, and it's lights out, game over. So you have to really prepare for that type of level. There's levels to this game. There really is. Um, so to me, when I hear a Ryan Garcia Teofimo rumor or a Ryan Garcia Tank Davis type of rumor, I personally feel it's more of a promotional thing. I get it. I would do the same thing. You have to build the profile of your fighters. You have to get the hype up. You have to get the fight fans excited, right? Like, yes, he has social media fans, but it's different than the actual fight fans and having that momentum, right? Like the boxing crowd behind you and actually hyping you up as well. Like, it's easier to get the fights you want, to be in the situation you want when you have that behind you, right? Not just the financial status of social media following, right? You still need the fight fans to actually believe, like, hey, I'm about to step in the ring with the Teofimo Lopez. Like, you got to sell that, like you can't just sell it to the average fan, right? You still got to convince everyone in the actual game this is a real fight. This is I'm not just trying to collect a paycheck here. It's not just, hey, I just want to fight this guy because I'm gonna make a pay-per-view fight and collect my cash and be on my way, right? It's gonna be tough to sell that. It's easier to sell when it's like when you're not really having to sell. When you're doing your job, you're going in the ring, you're fighting the guys you're supposed to, you're going up the levels the way you're supposed to. And then at that point, you don't even have to speak. The fight fans will speak for you. You don't even have to mention a Teofimo, a Tank. You don't need to do all that. Matter of fact, fans usually get annoyed by it at a certain point, right? Like, don't mention a Tank Davis and then go and fight the guy that Jojo Diaz lost to. You were like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, let's be more realistic. Like, it's not the way it works here. We understand the way this sport goes, right? Like, promoters are going to be promoters, managers are going to be managers. I'm not going to risk my guy with a guy that I know he's not possibly ready for, right? Like, why would I do that? The guy's doing well. The momentum is there. He's winning. Let me get him to that level eventually, right? Like, if I'm in charge of Orion Garcia, why would I put him in there with Teofimo in December or a Tank in December, right? Like, the money's there regardless. Like, why would you want a payout, right? Like, Ryan Garcia doesn't need one payout and be out, right? Like, he'll sell. He has his fans, whether you like him or not, whether you agree with what he says or not, whether you agree with the social media aspect of his stuff or not, he has his following, right? Like, he'll be fine. So for you to be like, let's get this guy with Tank, why would you? Why would you? If realistic, you're his manager, you're his promoter, you're Oscar, you're one of those guys. Why would you want to rush him so fast? I mean, he's a kid still. He's still young. He's barely getting into that, into his grown man power. You know what I mean? Like, his grown man game, essentially, right? Like, he's barely getting there. So realistically, why are you gonna rush him to fight someone like Teofimo? Where it's probably not gonna sell as good because, like I said, Teofimo still has a little bit of questions. He just got to 140. Ryan just fought for the first time at 140. So that fight probably still needs a little bit more in between to really make it the fight it's supposed to be, right? Um, like, for example, like Ryan Garcia. So like I said earlier, if you see him fight someone like a Jojo, he beats someone like Jojo, and then he goes and fights someone of that level or more, right? Or maybe even a comparison fight, like, for example, uh, top of my head, maybe I can't, I cannot remember his name. Josh Taylor just fought him. Tough fight. A lot of people thought that Josh Taylor lost to him. Top of my head, I can't remember his name. British fighter, someone like that, right? Like, someone where like, hey, this guy took the undisputed fighter to that level, right? Like, a lot of people thought he actually should be the undisputed undisputed champ right now, right? So someone like that, why would you not compare yourself to someone like that? Hey, you know what? If I want to fight Josh Taylor, why wouldn't I fight the guy that Josh Taylor possibly lost to, right? Like, if I want Josh Taylor to come to me, I'm gonna go to the guy that took you to that level, if not defeated you, in some people's eyes, right? If I could go in there and do my thing, and there's no question, I defeated that guy. It's my win, right? It's my victory. There's no question. Like I said earlier, five fans will speak for you if you do the things the right way, right? Like, you don't need to go on social media and mention this name or that name, or this promoter's not doing his job, or they're playing politics, or they don't do business with us. You don't need to do none of that, right? Like, realistically, this game, five fans will speak, right? Like, the numbers are numbers. So if you want a certain fight and the five fans are behind you, right? The numbers are there. When you fight, you sell out. Whatever network's carrying you, they make their numbers, right? Like, you don't have to speak. You're doing your job and you're getting to that level. Why? Like, at that point, why would you continue doing this whole social media stuff, right? Like, why do you? Oh, I want Tank Davis. I want this guy. Oh, they don't want to do it. I'm trying, guys, but it's them. That helps nobody. Helps nobody, right? Realistically, it just helps nobody. It annoys me. It annoys you. We get frustrated, and then that's where everything falls apart, right? Like, oh my God, this guy's a social media star, and that guy's avoiding this person. This promoter doesn't do business with that promoter, and street crossing, and blah 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 blah. It's always the same story, right? So we really don't have to be dealing with all that. Um, I I feel a lot of times we do deal with it because they understand, right? Like the promoters, like not the fighters per se, but I think some of these promoters understand. Hey, you know what? As long as we keep the profile up there, it's going to continue with the momentum, right? That's why they continue with that kind of rhetoric. But at the end of the day, I mean, fight fans are going to pay for what they want to see. So if it's a business and it's prize fighting, you're going to fight for the prize, right? So if you have not only social media stars or social media fans, hardcore boxing fans, you have everyone behind you. You don't need to speak, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's good to hype yourself up, self promote, blah blah blah. What I say you don't need to speak is you don't need to keep mentioning these names. Why? You don't need to mention any names. None. Uh, Matter of fact, a lot of times it backfires, right? Like, for example, like Ryan Garcia. A lot of people can't stand the kid because of that. Just because he keeps mentioning names, and then not you don't get that name, right? You already know that. Like, he's gonna mention a name, you already know you're not gonna get that. But you'll get a fight where it's like, you're fighting who? Why? Like, why didn't you fight JoJo? Right? Like, that was the fight to make. Like, I keep mentioning JoJo because that was supposed to be. I mean, it makes the most sense. The same promoter, right? JoJo went in the ring with Devin Haney. So whether you like it or not, you, Haney, Teofimo, there's, Shakur. If, like, I guess Shakur. I mean, there's certain fighters you're going to be mentioning together. Right? So it's frustrating. Is what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, it's frustrating dealing with all this because realistically, if you do the right things, you don't need to be dealing with it. You don't need to get the backlash. You don't need to worry about people saying that you're just a social media star. Just do the work. Do the work. Do the right things, right? Like, fight the right guys. If you're gonna mention a name, show me you're doing the work to get to that name, right? Like, don't mention the name and then go give me a C-class type of opponent. That's how you get the backlash, right? Like, it's not the work you're putting in the ring because you're talented. You're a young, talented fighter, right? That's why you have people still talking, whether they like you or not. They still got to talk about you because the talent is there. It's just frustration. A lot of times it's frustration with fight fans because you're telling me this and you're giving me that. It, we can't be doing that, right? Like, it's bad. It's bad to a certain extent. At some point, you get to a point where you just frustrate the fight fan. You kind of start pushing them away. If not, they just start trolling you, right? Like they they stop believing you. It's like, ah, he's gonna mention this guy. He's gonna go fight that guy. Like you already know what to expect. So as far as that goes, like I said earlier, with the Teofimo stuff and the Ryan Garcia stuff and Tank, those three, I don't think we're going to see them in the mix with each other quite yet. I think we are getting there. We're getting pretty close, and I think that's what we're starting to see. The hype is starting to get really like we're close, but there's still a little bit of work to do in order to get those fights to really be what they're supposed to be, right? Like a Ryan Garcia fight versus Teofimo would make more sense if you get Ryan Garcia and Jojo Diaz, and then from there you see him fight someone in the top five, right? I would say top five at that point. You probably have to fight a top five opponent to really get me believing that you're gonna go in the ring with someone like Teofimo, right? Like at least that's what I want to see as a fight fan. Because when I see you two in the ring, or I see a Ryan Garcia and a Tank in the ring, I want to see two fighters they're at that level, right? Like I don't want to go in there with questions. Like I don't want to be like, okay, Tank has been proving himself, right? Like he's been going up and down weight classes. He'll fight at 140, go up down to 130. Like he's testing himself. Whether you understand who he's fighting or not, the fact that he goes in there and he fights someone at 140 like a Mario Barrios, an undefeated young fighter, not a weight drained 30-some-year-old over the hill type of fighter, right? Like this is a young fighter that might take you out. Like this is his weight class. You're going into the ring at his weight class. Like you've never really been at that level at 140 with someone like Mario Barrios, right? He's doing that kind of stuff. So to tell me that I'm about to see someone that's doing that go in the ring with someone fighting fighters that he probably shouldn't be fighting, it's not this. It's not the same. Is what I'm trying to. It's not the same. Now, if you give me something where like I do see the right progression, like I said earlier, like before, like don't get me wrong, mental health is real, and I'm glad to see Ryan Garcia back. And I mean, mental health, it's a serious thing. A lot of fighters go through it. A lot of people in general go through it. So don't get me wrong. I'm talking pure boxing here, right? That setback did set him back. We have to admit, he fought Campbell, looked great, had to take time off, and now he had to go in there and fight a fighter he probably wouldn't have fought if it wasn't for the setback. So, with that being said, you probably have a little bit of work to do now because you did lose that time and you did lose the momentum, and you probably didn't fight the fighters you would have fought because I think they were setting them up the way that like I said, it looked like I think either JoJo or one of those type of fighters was next for him after the Campbell fight. But with that setback, it did set him back, right? So I still feel we should allow him. I know it's frustrating. I know we want to see him with those fighters already. We want to see the Teofimo and Ryan Garcia fights. He's not there. He's not there. Me personally, I feel he's not there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel you still need to display it in the ring, right? Like, yes, behind closed doors in the gym, you might look good. You might be dropping your sparring partners. You're fast and blah, blah, blah. It's not the same as going in there in the ring. It's not. And every fighter will tell you, like, what you see in the gym a lot of times does not replicate in the ring, right? Under those lights, it's a completely different animal. So you still need to make the progressions if you want to succeed in this sport. It's just the way it is. It's a brutal sport. So you can take the right way, or you can jump. Yeah, you can fight Teofimo in December, but are you going to win? Do you have a good chance to win in December? Or what would be the odds realistically if you did the right things and then we see it more like in January, February, right? April, sometime around there, maybe a fight or two after, right? Different fight. So I feel we're not going to get it in December. I do think we'll see Teofimo and Barboza. I think that makes sense. I personally would be excited to get that fight. I think it makes a lot of sense. What I seen from Teofimo this past weekend, it was nice to see him back. Essentially, that's what I got from it. I seen an overly excited young fighter that had a giant, not giant. I take it back. It wasn't a giant setback. It was a setback. It happens. It's boxing. He had a bad night. Who doesn't have a bad night every now and then, right? But with that being said, you got some work to do now, Theo. Like you you probably need to fight a Barboza, whether you like it or not. I did see he called him trash, right? He called him a trash fighter after his fight. I don't know if you guys saw it, but you need a Barboza. You need a Barboza type of fight. Makes a lot of sense, right? You go in there, you fight a Barboza, you know, get a little bit more familiar with 140, you know, the different type of fighter at 140, someone that we fight fans know that is a true contender at 140. Because Barboza, whether you know him or not, I mean, he's in line eventually to get a title shot, you know, right? He's getting there. So to defeat a guy that's getting there, it'd be a good victory for Teofimo. Like it makes sense whether you think he's trash or not. You need a Barboza before you go in there and fight a Taylor, right? You're not going to get Taylor. It's just not going to happen in December, January. It's just not. Um, but you will get a Barboza, and it makes sense. It's not a setback, right? It's a great fight. It's a fight that makes sense. It's a fighter that's in line to be a contender for one of the belts you're trying to collect, right? So you get him out of the way, and at the same time, you know you're helping yourself out by getting that second fight in the new weight class. I think that's going to be the way Top Rank goes. Knowing the way Top Rank works, I really don't see them forcing Teofimo in a big fight in December. I just don't. But that's okay. That's okay. It makes more sense anyways. And to me, it's more exciting anyways. I'd rather get Teof- Teofimo in the ring with one of these guys later on next year. Like me personally, I want to see when I do get these fights. Don't get me wrong, I want the fights. But when I get a Teofimo, Ryan Garcia, and these guys, I want it to be more of a 50-50 fight. I want to be able to not know who's realistically going to win. Like I don't want as a fight fan going in there like you know what, I think this guy has more of an upper side, right? Like I want to see a 50-50 fight. I don't know who's going to win. Let's go, right? Kind of like tomorrow night, right? Right? Well, to me, anyways. To me, tomorrow night is a 50-50 fight. And we'll get to that right now in a little bit. Let's just finish up this little topic right here because it's a great topic. I mean, to meet Teofimo back is exciting. I like Teofimo in the sport. I think it's great. It's great to see him in that mental state, just seeing him positive, excited, sometimes a little overexcited. You know, like I don't know if you guys seen him in the ring or not, but at one point I can't remember what round he started emulating the drunken master, right, with his little weird, his sidestepping, and it was, I don't know, to me it's entertaining. I like seeing that. Uh, but then again, I enjoyed someone like a drunken master, right? Like he was entertaining for me to watch. I like seeing that sometimes. Like, why not? Showboat a little bit. Who cares? Just don't get clipped. Just don't get clipped. But I liked it. I like what I saw. There was rust, yes, but it's expected. First fight back, first fight at 140. Is there questions? Sure, right? But we'll see him back in the ring in December, right? So with Teofimo, I think we'll get a big fight, but not this year. So don't get upset if you hear a Barboza fight being official, because more than likely that's what you're gonna hear. You're gonna hear Barboza and Teofimo next, and that's okay. That's okay. I think we're getting there though. I think by next year, at some point, one of those fights, the ones that everyone's waiting for, right? It's gonna get there. Haney, Teofimo, um, and Ryan Garcia. It's getting there. So I know we're getting a little impatient, but they just let them do what they're doing. They're going in the right direction. I think we're gonna get there next year. Okay. With that being said, it is fight week, right? let's jump into the fight week. I've been uh I've been excited for this fight for a while now. Usyk and Joshua too. Exciting fight. Exciting fight. I was gonna cover it yesterday. I guess it was a good thing that it did not work yesterday as far as the stream because I now can speak a little bit more because of the weigh-in. You know, the weigh-in was this morning. Um, the weigh-in was, I believe, like at what was like at 5 in the morning, I believe. Um, it was early. I wanted to see the weigh-in because a couple factors. One, I wanted to see where este Usyk wanted to weigh in at. I wanted to see if he was gonna come in heavy or he was gonna come in light, or if not the same as his last fight, right? Because it worked. His fight plan worked to a T. So me personally, I wanted to see what he was gonna do. Was he gonna change anything? Was he gonna come in heavier and maybe perhaps now pursue a knockout of Anthony Joshua, right? Because he did so well in the first fight. So really, do you really need to change much because he had no answer to what you gave him, like that lateral movement? Like it just he had no answer for what Usyk gave him, right? So to me, that was the question. Not so much what Joshua was going to weigh in because I kind of had an idea what Joshua was going to be thinking for the second fight. But to me, it was more of a question of Usyk. What is a champ going to do here? Is he going to come in at the same weight class and force the challenger to make the adjustment, right? Because you're the champ. You're the champ, and not only are you the champ, you soundly defeated this guy. Like, there's no question. Like, you won, right? Like, realistically, the only reason we're getting the second fight was because of the clause, right? Like, it's not like a fight that the fight fans were demanding because it was a close fight or anything like that. No, you were so successful that you're just getting this fight because of the rematch clause, right? With that being said, what was going to be your game plan? Would you come in heavier? Would you come in the same? So he came in the same, he came in the same, which to me is perfect. That's exactly what you should do. He had no answer for you. Why are you going to overthink, change your game plan, come in heavier? I mean, you're a cruiserweight, and that's what's been successful for you, right? Why would you come in heavier? Why? No. Come in the same weight. Don't change anything. Make the challenger think twice. Right? Like, yeah, I'm coming in the same weight. No, I'm not changing nothing. You had no answer for me. What are you gonna do about it? Right? That's the right mentality. Like, same weight class. Why would you come in heavy? So to me, that got me more excited when I saw the fact that Usyk came in when nothing changed. I'm not changing nothing. You got to make the adjustments for me because you got no answer for me, none. So that was very, very exciting to see. He came in at the same weight. With that being said, I think he's gonna do the same thing he did in the first fight. He's gonna use a lateral movement. He's gonna make Joshua move. He's not gonna let him plant his feet. He's not gonna let him come forward. He's gonna dictate the pace. Joshua's gonna have to make the adjustments. Can he make the adjustments? That's gonna be the question, right? So Anthony Joshua, that's the biggest changes in this fight is everything in Anthony Joshua's camp, right? Beginning with the trainer, he brought in Ryan Garcia. He brought in Robert Garcia in January. They got together, I think, late December. I remember Joshua was doing that whole training tour. He was looking for a trainer. Turns out he selected Robert Garcia. He flew him out back and forth since January, they're saying, to work with Anthony Joshua behind closed doors. Interesting. I think it's interesting, and I'll tell you why. Changing trainers before a fight of this magnitude and not having a fight in between is tough. It's going to be tough. And I'll tell you why. Because, yes, you had since January that you guys worked behind closed doors. But like I said earlier, what you see in the gym a lot of times does not translate in the ring, right? You still need to see the product, the finished product, or at least the product that you're currently working on in the ring. So usually what you see with fighters of Joshua's level when they change trainers, They'll give you a in between fight, maybe two, just to get that work in, right? Because this is a new trainer, there's a new aspect, there's a new mentality. So you kind of got to put that gym work in the ring. So you got to see where you're at, see what you need to adjust, and go from there. We're not getting that, right? We're going jumping in the pool, right? From January to now, hey, it's just who cares? It's Josh Usyk, right? I guess. I don't know. It's interesting the fact that they're going to attempt it. They're going to attempt completely changing trainers, not having an in between fight. It's going to be a completely different game plan because I promise you, Robert Garcia is not going to have Joshua try to dance and trying to match Usyk, right? Like that's not going to work. You're the bigger guy. You're the more physical guy. What made you successful, what made you win these big fights that people know you for was you using your power, imposing your will, dictating the pace, right? That's what made you successful. So that I'm pretty sure that's what Robert Garcia expects to see from his fighter. He's gonna want to see Joshua be more physical. You're the bigger guy. You're the heavyweight champ. You should be acting like the heavyweight champ, right? That's what he's gonna expect. So to not get an in between fight, to see what these two are meshing with, right? Because Anthony Joshua is a UK fighter and he comes with that UK style, right? Like where he's not going to be completely aggressive. Like he's going to box, right? And this is not a guy to be boxing with. So it's going to be interesting to see how those two mesh, right? Robert Garcia's uh, aspect as far as what he needs to do and what Anthony Joshua actually listens to and goes in the ring and actually performs with, right? Like, what's he actually going to do that Robert Garcia is telling him to do, or what he showed him to do it behind the gym when the bell rings and he's dealing with Usyk once again, and it's round 13 because as of today, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like Usyk is just going in there with the round 13 mentality. I ain't changing nothing. I'm going round 13. You make the adjustments. That's what I'm expecting tomorrow night, right? So that's what Joshua should be expecting as well. It doesn't look like the champ's going to change nothing because it worked. So you need to make the adjustments. With that being said, can he make the adjustments? Right? You had no fight in between. So you're just going to go in there and see if it works. It's interesting. It's brave. Will it work? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I personally don't think it'll work from, you know, from just seeing the sport. As long as I've seen it, it's tough to go to that level, change trainers, change styles, change tactics, not have anything in between to test it to see if it works, to take change the little things here and there, right? Just to sharp tune whatever the game plan is, just to sharp tune those little tools because they're bringing new tools to the bag, right? Like you've never had a trainer like Robert Garcia. He's gonna make you do things that you're just not used to doing. So you're not gonna test it. You're just gonna bring in the tools, use them behind closed doors. Yeah, ver qué, right? At least that's what they're showing us. So it's going to be tough. I'll be honest with you guys. It's going to be tough for Anthony Joshua for him to successfully get his belt fight, I guess, right? Like it's going to be tough. Usyk is a hard puzzle, right? He's not your average heavyweight. You're probably not going to see a heavyweight of this style for quite a while. It's hard. It's unheard of. You know, he's not a natural heavyweight. Like you just not used to seeing someone move that fast, that accurate. He looks like a lighter guy. He's a smaller guy in a bigger weight class, and that's what makes him successful. You know, like it's gonna be tough to beat someone like that. So I'm excited. I'm still excited. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to underhype the fight. Don't get. Who knows? Anthony Joshua might pull it off. Maybe he does use his will and his power, and he does shorten that ring up, and he doesn't allow Usyk to exit or move laterally. He doesn't allow it. Maybe he does land to the chest, keeps him there, forces himself on him, puts his weight on top of him. He might, but it's gonna be hard because you did not test it. right? Like you're just gonna go in there and try to defeat the heavyweight champ of the world. Okay, right? It's gonna be interesting. Don't get me wrong. It's gonna be interesting. I'm excited. Um, that's essentially what I expect as far as that fight. I think Usyk should just come in, do the same thing, force the champ to make the adjustments. Which me personally, I think it's gonna be hard. I think Joshua probably needed he probably needed to fight somebody else first before pursuing the rematch. But then again, he might have been thinking the champ might be distracted, right? Like if the champ's ever going to be the most distracted, it would be when his country is at war. Like what bigger distraction would you have than something of that magnitude, right? So maybe that's the reason why we got it so fast because you got to realize Joshua loses this fight, his career might be a little bit of trouble, and according to some people's eyes, right? Yeah, you take these two losses in a row, you're in trouble, right? Like some people are talking retirement, which I disagree with. Don't get me wrong, I disagree with. I don't think he needs to retire. Even if Joshua takes a loss tomorrow, I think he's fine. There's a couple of fights that I personally still want to see Joshua have before he exits the sport. But I don't think he'll leave. I don't think he's gonna retire. I honestly don't think. I think that's just more of a, of I guess, fight fans being fight fans. Oh my God, he lost the last fight. If he loses again, he's in trouble. Not really. Not really. Realistically, in this sport, you can lose. You can lose. Undefeated records, to me, only bring up more questions, right? Because a lot of times these undefeated fighters haven't tested themselves. They haven't been in there with the rings with someone faster than them, someone stronger than them, someone in an identical level, right? Like usually they're undefeated for a reason. Like they've been protected, right? Let's say the truth. A lot of times they've been protected, which is, hey, it's a business. Promoters are going to do their job as long as the fighters allow them to do that, right? I know a lot of fighters lie to you guys and tell you, oh, my manager, it's up to my promoter. Nah, the fighter dictates what he wants to do. Like you're the boss. The promoter's job is to go get you the bag. Whatever fight you tell the promoter to go do, his job is to go do that. And if he can't do that, go find another promoter. It's that simple. But it's easier to say, oh well, it's up to my manager. It's up to my promoter. I just fight. His job is just to promote, right? That's his job. So if you tell him, hey, I'm not going in the ring until you give me A or B, right? Like what do you think he's gonna do? His job is to make money. So if he's not making money off of you because you're refusing to fight C class fighters because you want to test yourself, he's gonna give you those fights, right? If you don't believe me, just look at Canelo. Canelo going in there with fighters he has no business fighting. Like, what promoter is gonna put him in there with a light heavyweight? You're the undisputed pound per pound champ of the world. You don't need to risk it, right? Like, you can collect your check, have a nice day. You can do that. A lot of fighters usually do that. That's been the sport, right? Like, don't test yourself. You're the man. Let them come to you, right? That's always been the mentality. So for you to tell me that, oh, it's the promoter, quit play. Like, we all know what it is. It's okay. It's okay. I probably would say the same thing. I'm not gonna be like, oh, well, you know what? I don't feel I'm ready. I'm not gonna tell you guys that. I'd probably be like, hey, I'm just gonna do my job. But at a certain point, that's gonna wear thin. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of tired of seeing you fight the fighters you shouldn't be fighting no more. Like, you think I'm coming out of pocket paying pay per view to see you fight a sparring partner? I'm a fight fan. I love boxing, but realistically, you, I mean, come on. Like, I want to see you test yourself. You're gonna take a loss. Who cares? Test yourself. That's the whole point, right? Competition. This is prize fighting. You're supposed to be competing. Competition. At some point, yes, at the beginning, okay, lower competition, okay. But at some point, you got to step up. At some point, you got to do it, right? So, with that being said, got a little sidetracked there. With that being said, it is up to the fighters. You're getting the fights you're getting because the fighter accepted the fight. That's what it is. Okay, so we could probably stop blaming the promoters. They're going to do their job. They're going to continue doing that. They're never going to stop. Why would they? Right? That's their job. It's the fighter. The fighter needs to do what they need to do, right? If you're unsatisfied with a certain fighter's resume, chances are it's the fighter doing it. He's not accepting to test himself. He's scared to take an L. They're so scared. It's the new boxing age. Apparently, you got to be undefeated or else. I don't get why. All the legends we all know that we all still go back and watch, they all have multiple losses. Every single one of them. All of them. The greatest of all time that a lot of people say, right? Muhammad Ali. He wasn't undefeated. Was he not undefeated because he wasn't great? No. Took losses because he was great. Because he tested himself. How are you gonna allow someone in your weight class to call themselves the best? I'm the champ. I'll prove it to you. Get in the ring with me. Let's go. That was the mentality back then, right? It's changed a little bit. That's probably what needs to start happening again. Just go back to fighting, compete, test yourself. We'll do the rest. The fight fans will do the rest. If you are doing your job, you're competing, you're testing yourself, who's gonna blame you? Who's gonna like? Trolls are gonna be trolls. Don't get me wrong. You're gonna hear backlash regardless. Even when you do stuff that's well, you're gonna hear trolls. People are gonna bash you regardless. Who cares, right? But if you're doing the right things, eventually you're gonna the labor will pay off, right? Just look who the money makers are right now. Like I said earlier, Tank Davis, what is he doing? He's climbing levels. He's testing himself. He's fighting at 140 when he should not be fighting at 140. He could be fighting at 130 and stay at 130, right? No. He went to 140, he tested himself. That's why he's making the money he's making, because he is a pay-per-view star. That's what real stars should be doing. Test yourself. You might take a nail. This guy might be stronger than you. But let's find out. That's part of the fun, right? That's what's making someone like Tank so successful, because the guy doesn't talk. Tank just does not really talk, right? That's these talk. That's what we need to get back to, right? We need to get back to that. I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there, and I'll tell you why. We're starting to get the fights that we want. Like, for example, Crawford and Spence. I was starting to get to the point where we didn't think we are going to get that, and now we're pretty close. We're like, they're saying November. November for sure. It's only a matter of finalizing the deal, right? So we're starting to get to the point where we're finally going to get the fights that we want, right? So as far as these little ones, like the ones that we think we're getting pretty close, like I said earlier, like the Teofimos and all that, we're getting there. We have to be a little bit patient, like almost there, almost there. I know the hype is saying otherwise. I know in the internet they're telling you it's there, that they're fighting now. No, not yet, not yet. But they will get there. They will get there, right? So, with that being said, man, I got backtracked. Usyk and Joshua, to finalize that. Let me close that up, because I keep keep getting sidetracked here, but that's okay. My final prediction for Joshua and Usyk, I feel Usyk will take it. I don't think he needs to adjust anything. I don't think he did adjust anything. He's going to be around 13 and on, and the question will be for Joshua: is he going to change anything? And my answer is going to be no. It's too soon. You just started with Robert Garcia. I mean, it'd be shocking. I'd be shocked if Joshua pulls it off. Shocked. But he can't pull it off. That being said, Usyk by decision. I don't see a knockout. I think they'll go 12 rounds again. It'll be good action. It'll be back and forth. We might see one, if not both, hit the ground maybe once or twice. But I think we'll have a 12-round fight. It'll be a good show. I'm excited for tomorrow night. Make sure you guys tune in. And remember, it is early tomorrow. It is a Saudi Arabia fight, so the action will start early. I believe the undercard starts at 9. Main card starting at 11. Check it out on the zone. Make sure you guys don't miss it out. There's also an ESPN card. Top Rank has Navarrete on the comeback. He's fighting Baez as well. That fight will be tomorrow night, I believe about 6 o'clock on ESPN or ESPN Plus. I'll double check on that. As far as tomorrow, I think that's the only fights Figueroa, you know what? I almost forgot. Figueroa is fighting. I did forget. Figueroa did get someone to step in for Adrian Broner. I know Adrian Broner shockingly pulled out. Apparently, he does pull out. Hey, that's according to him, he doesn't pull out. Okay, but I guess he does. So Figueroa and Libinets tomorrow night. That's also on Showtime. It should be around the same time, I think, as the ESPN card. I think ESPN starts at 6 with the Showtime card being around 7. Showtime has two, I believe they have two title fights for you guys. So make sure you check them out. Make sure you check out both of those cards. Should be good action. The top rank card, the main event should be action while it lasts. Navarrete has been on a tear lately, so we'll see. We'll see what happens there. There's some exciting rumors behind the scenes. I hope they're true. They're saying that if not Navarrete looks good tomorrow night, don't be surprised that you start hearing rumors of him and Shakur, which would be fantastic fight. Oh my god, that'd be a great fight. So that'd be great. They're saying either Navarrete and Shakur, or he might even get Oscar, right? But I don't think he'll get Oscar. Oscar just took a nail. They're probably going to make Oscar take maybe a probably similar path as Teofimo, because, like I said, Top Rank does take care of their fighters. So they're probably going to have Oscar, have maybe like a self-motivating fight as a comeback fight. And then after that, depending how he looks, they'll go from there. But it should be a great fight nonetheless if it does happen eventually with Navarrete and Oscar. But realistically, it'll probably be Navarrete and Shakur first, right? So make sure you watch that fight essentially because it does have meaning behind it, even though Baez is probably just more of a fight just to get Navarrete back in the ring. But there is meaning behind the fight because if he does look good and if he does look good, essentially, because there's no title fight, just as long as he looks good, he's gonna have a big fight coming up, right? They want to make the Shakur fight, so, and it's an easy fight because they're both on the top rank, so I think we'll have it. Other than that, I believe that should be all the topics for now. I do have something exciting I do want to talk to you guys about on Monday. So make sure you guys come back on Monday, 10 a.m. I'm going to try to keep it consistent as far as time. We'll start with 10 a.m. We'll see how it goes. Monday, I would like to we'll sit down, we'll talk. I don't know if you guys heard Oscar's talking about moving Golden Boy to Vegas. I think that's pretty interesting. We'll go more into detail with that. I feel maybe perhaps that little sit down with Bob might have been more of that than realistically the Teofimo and Ryan Garcia fight. I don't think that was a discussion because, like I said, Top Rank is a very, very great promoter as far as the way they take care of the fighters. Golden Boy does it too. Don't get me wrong. Top Rank's not the only one. There's promoters that tend to take care of their fighters the correct way when they need to, right? And then there's some that just overprotect. But Top Rank they do very well as far as bringing up their fighters the correct way to a certain extent. So I do expect that to go the way it usually does with Top Rank, which is okay. It's the way it should go anyways, right? Like they should bring up their fighters the correct way. So Oscar took a loss, give him a confidence fight, depending on how he looks. Then from there, maybe a contender, if not a champion, if he looks the right way. So we'll see. We'll see. But like I said, I think that was more of the conversation with Oscar and Bob Arum. I think it might have been more of the likes like, hey, I'm bringing my outfit to Vegas, and we all know, the Bob father runs Vegas, whether you want to agree with it or not. But Top Rank has been in Las Vegas for a very long time, and they're very well known there. Right? They're built in Vegas. If you know how that goes, Top Rank is okay to Vegas. So it would make sense if they would start communicating and maybe they start putting some shows together. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. At some point, you got to start seeing that with some of these promoters. Maybe instead of being in-house with these fights, maybe you start treating it like a league where it's like your fighters versus their fighters. Maybe even create some kind of type of pay-per-view where it's like a Super Bowl type of event, right? Maybe once a year, a Top Rank versus Golden Boy, something of the sorts, right? So I personally feel that's more of the conversation they had. I think we'll get more detail eventually as it goes, especially once Oscar does end up pulling the plug in LA and takes Golden Boy to Vegas, with that being said, that's something I want to talk about with you guys on Monday. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Make sure you guys tune into all the fights tomorrow. Fantastic shows. Make sure you watch them all. I'm sure you guys have some DVRs. If not, hey, YouTube will take care of you, right? You can watch it back on YouTube. Other than that, thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys later. God bless you guys. I'll see you on Monday.